morning, Mount Carmel kids. Miss Kaylee here, and I'm so thrilled that you chose to be with me this morning and learn more about God's true word. Well, remember last week we learned all about Daniel. We were in Daniel 1, and we learned about how Daniel had to go to Babylon when he was just a young man. And we talked about how scary that would be, right? Well, we see that through this trial, through this difficult time, Daniel trusted that God was with him and he kept his faith in God, right? He didn't eat the food that King Nebuchadnezzar offered, right? Because it was against God's commands, right? And God blessed him for that. Well, today we're going to be in Daniel chapter 5, and by this point, Daniel has been living in Babylon for about 66 years, so a pretty long time. And in all that time, we learned that God was still with Daniel throughout all of it. And we get to see how God uses Daniel's faithfulness to share a message to the king of Babylon. And it's a pretty cool story. And I can't wait for you to learn so much more about that today. So enjoy.
Hi friends, it's me, Megan, and me, Jessie. Megan, do you want to see what I made at school today?
Yes, I would love to see what you made.
Ta-da! It's secret message art.
Secret message art? How does that work?
Well, my teacher gave me a light crayon and told me to draw a picture on light paper. It was kind of hard because I couldn't see what I was drawing.
Oh, well that sounds like it would be difficult.
It was, but then I colored on my drawing with a purple marker and it appeared just like that. Just like a secret hidden message.
That's amazing, Jessie. In our Bible story today, there was a special message that appeared on a wall in the king's palace.
Did they use a purple marker to see it?
No, but they did ask Daniel to come and tell them what the message meant. Let's watch to learn more. The king of Babylon had a big party and invited lots of friends. The guests ate food and drank from special bowls or cups. But the special cups were from God's temple. They were not for drinking, they were for worshiping God. The king and his friends did what was wrong. All of a sudden, a hand appeared. The fingers started to write something on the wall, a message for the king. The king was scared. He read the message, but he did not know what it meant. Not even the king's wise men could understand it. The queen remembered that Daniel was wise. Daniel came to the palace and looked at the message. He knew what it was. It was a message from God. First, Daniel told the king, Nebuchadnezzar was king before you. He was very powerful. He thought he was better than anyone else, so God punished him. The king of Babylon was a lot like Nebuchadnezzar. He did not love God either. He loved himself the most. Daniel read 4 words. Mene, mene, tekel, parsin. Each word had a special meaning. The king was not going to be king anymore. God was not happy with the king. The kingdom of Babylon was going to be taken over by its enemies. That night, God's message came true. A man named Darius became the new king. The king of Babylon thought he was better than God. No one is better than God. God punished the king. Jesus obeyed God and gave his life to rescue us from sin. God raised up Jesus to give him honor as the true king forever and ever.
King Belshazzar, the ruler of Babylon, had a big feast. 1,000 guests came to eat and drink with the king. During the party, King Belshazzar brought out gold and silver containers for his guests to drink from. The containers had been taken from God's temple in Jerusalem. The king was misusing them. While the king and his guests drank, they worshipped their false gods, gods made of gold, silver, bronze, iron, wood, and stone. Suddenly, the feast was interrupted. A hand appeared at the wall, and its fingers began writing a message. The king watched the hand, and he was very afraid. His face was pale and his legs shook. The king stared at the message on the wall, but he didn't understand what it meant. The king called for the wise men in his kingdom. "If anyone can tell me what this message means, I will give him gifts and an important job in my kingdom," he said. The wise men came, but none of them knew what the message meant. King Belshazzar and his guests were upset. Then the queen remembered Daniel. Daniel was wise, so Daniel was called to the palace. Daniel saw the message and understood what it meant. The message was from God. Daniel reminded the king about what happened to his relative, King Nebuchadnezzar. "God made King Nebuchadnezzar great," Daniel said, "but King Nebuchadnezzar thought too much of himself, so God punished him." King Belshazzar had not learned from Nebuchadnezzar's mistakes. King Belshazzar did not love God. He loved himself the most, and he worshipped false gods. Then Daniel read the message aloud and told the king what the words meant. The words on the wall were Mene, Tekel, and Parsin. Mene meant that God had counted the days of the kingdom. The king wasn't going to be king anymore. The next word, Tekel, meant that God had given the king a report card, and he had failed. The word Parsin meant that Babylon would be split up and taken over by its enemies. That night, God's message came true. King Belshazzar was killed, and a new king named Darius took over Babylon. God humbled the proud king of Babylon by taking away his kingdom. King Jesus willingly humbled himself by dying on the cross for our sin. God raised up Jesus and gave him honor forever. When we humble ourselves and trust in Jesus, God will raise us up to enjoy Jesus in his kingdom forever.